Colin Cochran, Persuasive Speech. Imagine suddenly having your rights violated. Being homosexual is just as natural as being heterosexual. And saying that homosexuals do not deserve the same rights as everyone else is just as bad as every other prejudice out there. The movement to gain rights for same-sex marriage began in the 1970s, although it was not popular. It really became a mainstream issue in the 1990s. As of today, 9 states have legalized same-sex marriage. Those states include Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, Connecticut, New York, Rhode Island, Maryland, Iowa, and Washington. Some people argue that the institution of marriage is to bond one man and one woman, and that the definition of marriage makes same-sex marriage unjust. But I believe that because of modern-day views on marriage, same-sex marriage should be legal. The United States was built on the strong foundation of being able to chase your dreams and live a free life. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This phrase is one of the most well-known from the Declaration of Independence. Apply this to the issue of gay marriage. If we as a country do not allow homosexuals the right to marriage, we would be ripping them of their pursuit of happiness. Although we know that marriage is the dream of homosexual couples, it is still denied. Therefore, we are denying the right of happiness for gay couples. Even if as a country we deem same-sex marriage illegal, according to the book Same-Sex Marriage, Moral Wrong or Civil Right, written by Tricia Androwski, gay couples can make arrangements with lawyers to partly bond the two together in the ways that married couples can, and they are able to claim each other as beneficiaries in wills. Also, according to Androwski, homosexual couples are allowed to authorize their partner to make medical decisions in case of a serious illness. Although same-sex couples are allowed these rights, they are not allowed to arrange spousal Social Security benefits, to file joint tax returns, nor are they allowed to claim many of the benefits that the U.S. government allows heterosexual couples. Knowing of the benefits that are already provided for gay couples, why not allow them to legally bind their marriage? Also, given that they are allowed to consider their relationship a marriage, they should be allowed to make their marriage official. The one right that does not have to be given to homosexual couples is the right to see their partners in the hospital. Because the two are not married, they are not typically considered family, and therefore need the hospital's permission to see their partner. Think about if this right was stripped from heterosexual couples. How would that make you feel, not being able to see your ill loved one? If the amount of rights that are denied to same-sex couples does not seem morally wrong, then maybe the real definition of marriage will give you a different perspective of same-sex marriage. According to the online Merriam-Webster dictionary, there are 2 main definitions for marriage. The first is defined as the state of being united to a person of the opposite sex as husband or wife and a consensual and contractual relationship recognized by law. The other definition is a state of being united to a person of the same sex in a relationship like that of a traditional marriage. Another well-known dictionary has had same-sex marriage included in their definition for even longer. Since 2000, the Oxford English Dictionary has deemed same-sex marriage part of the definition. Therefore, if someone were to argue that the definition of marriage is that between a man and a woman only, that would be an invalid argument. According to debate.org, in an article entitled History and Debate of Gay Marriage, marriage has not been uniformly defined across cultures. In 1922, marriage had been defined as a relationship of one or more men with one or more women that is recognized by law and involves certain legal and social rights and duties. If back then a culture considered polygamy the definition of marriage, then why shouldn't same-sex marriage be considered part of the definition of marriage today? Today, as a culture, the majority of the population considers polygamy to be morally wrong, but at one time it was considered to be the definition of marriage in some cultures. Over the past decade, same-sex marriage has developed into the latest civil rights movement. This is not the first issue that has been a hostile one in the United States. If you can remember, not too long ago, we witnessed the largest civil rights movement in United States history. Throughout the 1960s, African Americans fought for their right to equality. If you think about it, the battle for legalizing same-sex marriage is very similar to what African Americans were fighting for. Before whites and blacks were considered equal, blacks were denied rights that they were allowed to have. Homosexuals have been placed in the same situation. where they are not allowed the same rights as heterosexual couples, therefore being discriminated against. According to the book Same-Sex Marriage in the United States, Focus on the Facts, written by Sean Cahill, as recently as 1967, an interracial couple were sentenced to 1 year in jail for breaking the state of Virginia's law, banning the marriage between blacks and whites. In that same year, 72% of the U.S. opposed interracial marriage, and 48% of Americans believed that it should be considered a crime. This is a perfect example to show how similar the controversy between same-sex marriage and black-white marriage is. Back in the 1960s, the issue at stake was whether or not black-white marriages were acceptable. And nowadays, the issue presented is whether or not same-sex marriages are acceptable. Also, the statistics showing the amount of people that were against interracial marriage is substantially more than that of the people against same-sex marriage. If we as a country could hurdle the issue of allowing interracial marriages, why is allowing two people of the same sex to get married such a big deal? The biggest issue standing in the way of same-sex marriage becoming legalized in the United States are the religious views on homosexuality. Many people believe that because in the Bible it states that a marriage is to be between a man and a woman only, that it is the way that it needs to be. According to the book Same-Sex Marriage, Granting Equal Rights or Damaging the Status of Marriage, written by Tricia Andrzejowski, religious conservatives believe that homosexuality has no place in God's plan, and in their view, same-sex marriage isn't to be considered marriage at all. Although many people would still like to believe that religion is the leading force in stopping same-sex marriage from becoming legal, the majority of Christians in the United States today are more in favor of legalizing same-sex marriage than ever. A quote from Laura Montgomery Rutt of the Methodist Federation for Social Action sums up this theory. I quote, "No longer can marriage be between members of the same sex be characterized as a debate between the religious and the irreligious. Christians are taking a stand in favor of same-sex unions and equal rights for gay men and lesbians because of their belief in the gospel and the Spirit of Jesus Christ. If those who are most against same-sex marriage are becoming accepting of it, what else is needed to legalize same-sex marriage?" Over the past decade, the issue of whether same-sex marriage is morally acceptable has ballooned into a full-scale debate. The legalization of same-sex marriage has taken a positive turn, with 9 states already legalizing the marriage of two people of the same sex. Legalizing same-sex marriage is the next step in providing equality for all, regardless of race, class, or sexual orientation. With same-sex marriage being legal, the United States would be a much more accepting and equal country. I believe that because of the modern-day views on marriage, that marriage between same-sex couples should be legal.